we don't speak with somebody who speaks with somebody else who has heard about somebody else. We speak with those economic actors who do the job on the ground. And therefore, it's a big pleasure for me to welcome Adrien Fetfeux from the French recycling company Paprec to the program. Welcome, Adrien.
Thank you, Helmut, and hello. My name is Adrien Fetfeux, and I work as a business developer at Paprec D3E. My role focuses on developing partnerships and supporting the recovery of electrical and electronic equipment. And first of all, Helmut, I would like to thank you for inviting me to speak today about ITAD. It's a very pleasure to have the opportunities to share our expertise and discuss the challenges and opportunities in this field. And to say a few words about Paprec. Paprec Group.
Please.
Yeah, as many of you may know, is a leading player in the recycling and waste management industry in France, and we are now operates in hundreds of sites across the country with expertise and covering all major waste streams.
Yes, thank you very much, Adrien. And I think Paprec is really a very good company because it's a large operation, but it's still a family-owned business. So they really need to get the job done correctly in order to make the most out of it in all senses. And therefore, I think you are really a very, very good partner to discuss today. Now, and in that sense, I'd like to ask you the first question. When companies talk about ITAD, recycling is actually really often the very first thing they mention. Why do you think that is, and do you think that this is the right view on the ITAD process?
When companies talk about ITAD, they often associate it directly with end-of-life management of their equipment. Recycling naturally comes up nearly in the discussion, and ITAD as a comprehensive process is still not widely understood across all organizations. We make this shortcut common. This is not an issue it itself. It's our responsibilities as industry professional to guide clients through all aspects that ITAD truly encompasses.
Thank you very much, Adrien. That shares my personal view also. Recycling is mentioned as a word, but the ITAD process itself, which spans from remarketing to recycling, is not viewed as a whole of the process, and there's clearly education necessity in that fields. I'm happy that you confirmed this also from your side. Now, when we look at the recycling perception of clients, what do you think, or what do you know from your experience is the biggest misconception about the recycling part of the ITAD process?
Yeah, I say companies often believe that we simply destroy equipment by shredding it or burning it for energy recovery. What they need to understand is that before materials can be recovered, equipment must be sought by category, by families of electrical and electric equipment, such as to containing battery versus those not containing battery. Many devices contain different combination of plastic, glass, metal, etc. And to recover this material effectively, equipment must be dismantled to create specific materials called fraction, which can then be sent to our processing facility to produce new materials within the circular economy framework.
Thank you, Adrien. And that is another point that I think is important as part of the educational campaign that we are all about to do also, which is to pull out the recycling from the dumping aspect. You know, you put a container up front the side, you throw everything in, and the recycler gets on with it. There is some sorting necessity up front, even on the side of the user still, which increases the quality later and also the economic outcome, and then at the end also the sense of all this, which is the circular economy. And having said that, the circular economy as such is a regulated subject. We cannot leave the circular economy functions to the forces of the free market. Now, when you think about the regulatory requirements, what requirements from the regulatory standpoint do we have here right in France?
Yeah, from the client side, manufacturer, market producer, the primary obligation is extended producer responsibility, EPR, calling RAP in France, la REP, responsabilité élargie des producteurs. And this is the foundation of DEEE regulations. Manufacturer, importer, and producer are responsible for the end-of-life management of their products. To continue, AGEC law and WIN law, it's very impact on IT equipment. The AGEC law, it's the anti-waste for a circular economy, complements the DEEE framework by requiring manufacturers to promote reuse and refurbishment, fight planned obsolescence, and inform consumer about product reparability. The AGEC law is constitute about 140 articles. The law highlights efforts and reduce all forms of waste. In summary, in France, the AGEC law aims to transform our traditional linear model, produce, consume, discard, into a circular economy.
Yes, and I think we can clearly say, as we are both located in France, that this is a legislation that is really going into the sectors and combining and connecting the recycling to a legislatory condition that you called REP, the ERP on the international market, which starts at the very beginning when a company puts anything onto the market. So it's interconnected now, and it's not just the end of life. And France is clearly one of the leading countries in Europe with concerning the complexity of the legislation and the industries covered here also. Yeah, so it's really much more than is visible at first, which we call it also ITAD 3.0, which is covering the beginning of the life cycle. And one element in there is the treatment of the waste in the country of its origin, which means waste that is generated in France has to be treated within France and not to be exported. And why is that so important from a legal perspective from your point of view, the recycling within the country of origin?
In my view, recycling within the country of origin is important because the state strictly regulates waste treatment and site to rigorous specifications, and facility managing electrical and electric waste must comply with national standards established by the government. These standards can vary across countries, which may lead to a loss of waste traceability or the absence of proper waste management practice. In Europe, Helmut, the Basel Convention regulates transboundary movement of hazardous waste, including IT, related DEEE. IT require prior authorization, strict oversight, and refers traceability to prevent illegal export to country lacking the proper infrastructure to handle such wastes.
Adrien, I'm very, very happy that you mentioned the Basel Convention here, because that's a regulatory framework that is, for some reason, not so widely known, even though it's one of the very few agreements that have been signed worldwide by every nearly every state on the planet. Yeah, we have nearly 200 signatories below the agreement, and it's applied in the states, even in countries that have not really ratified, like the United States, but still they apply the intentions of the Basel Convention. So that is, I'm very glad that you refer to this also. And I think personally also that this is very, very important. And the ground rule is indeed the waste hierarchy. And the one who has generated the waste is dealing with the waste also. That's the principle nailed down to the bottom. Yeah, and this leads to the requirement recycling has to happen where the waste is generated. Now, when we think of the recycling again, at which point in an ITAD process does the recycling really start then? Is it when the asset arrives at the site, or is it much, much, much earlier when you consider recycling to start?
Yeah, I mean, the first important step is requesting a detailed list of equipment so that Paprec D3E can anticipate an IT asset audit and determine the potential for reuse as well as assess the financial value, equipment buyback. Next, come GDPR, related data management, which is a crucial part of the ITAD value chain. And another key aspect is improving sorting practice for our clients. For example, when equipment is properly sorted, it's easier to process and require less energy within our facility because it's going directly to the appropriate recycling stream. And only after these steps can we begin discussing the recycling process themselves.
That's very, very helpful, your answer, Adrian, because it clearly shows that the recycling process itself, physically, for sure, is happening at a recycling treatment facility, but the process as such starts indeed much earlier, at latest at the point when the waste generator wants to dispose of it and starts organizing this. So it has an administration aspect that needs to be taken into account. And we share that view also, which is why we provide our partners such as Paprec with upfront information about the pickup material. What kind of information do you need to do the job correctly?
To make a connection with the previous question, a precise list of equipment for sure, ideally with grading, A, B, C, processor information, for example, and overall condition for IT assets, photos and details about each item's weight and contents are very helpful, especially if hazardous components are involved, like oil, lithium, and that. The location of intervention of IT or waste is also important, along with any site constraints like floor level, restricted area, etc. And for smooth operational planning, having a dedicated on-site contact is highly beneficial. Very. To conclude, in France, registration on the government platform Track Déchets is mandatory for a recycler to collect electric or electronic waste.
I think that is a very important point, the last one that you have mentioned also, because one thing is the operational preparation, and it's true, sometimes pickups are blocked because there is no parking space and that was not coordinated, or we do pickups in pedestrian zones within the cities which are closed for certain times, and you cannot go in there with a truck, for instance. But on this other side, we have indeed in France Track Déchets, which is an electronic way of tracking the waste from the pickup down to the recycling plant, which exists in other countries also. But in France, we have this electronic platform, but you need both in order to match really the operational pickups with the formal pickups here, and then it can go right. But what can go wrong from your perspective?
The ITAD process is a professional, secure, regulated, and sustainable framework for managing IT end-of-life assets. Failing to ensure proper recycling constitutes a breach of a duty, and more importantly, result in a loss of traceability for parts of the asset batch.
And that's right. And when that happens, then the client cannot do his ESG reporting. He cannot really recover any financial value. It's difficult to apply the outcome of the project. You cannot do field inventory, clearance, everything. So the data tracking and the data integrity is really a crucial part. That is the outcome of the organization. And I can say at this point here also, what I really like with the cooperation with Paprec particularly is that you require this data really in practice also, and you only go on when you have the data, but you deliver everything back also. So we use our own envenance app for the capture. You have your tools, you use Track2Share, and at the end we can gather everything seamlessly and provide that to the customer. And that requires professional support from your side. And you really walk the talk here from Paprec's side, I can tell you. And you personally also, Adrian, I appreciate this. How do you see the role of recycling changing now in the future? Because we always talk about ITAD 3.0, which includes an increase of regulation impact on ITAD. How do you see the role of recycling changing in that aspect, both in France and in Europe also?
There is a real need to extend the lifespan of IT equipment, to limit the extraction of new raw materials. This is, to me, the very foundation of ITAD and electric waste management. And as you know, the cost of new equipment continues to rise, as do component price, such as RAM. And from an environmental perspective, companies are increasingly seeking to improve their sustainability score, for example, with the development of CSRD requirement. So better ESG performance, enhance corporate reputation, and can facilitate access to preferential financing, such as green loans, and is very good lever for organic growth.
Yes.
In addition, proper asset management can improve a company's success rates when competing in public tenders in France.
So we are really again at the point where waste management, where asset disposition, which is the D in the ITAD, is really pulled out of this dirty corner where you just want to get rid of something. There's an impact on the beginning of the extraction of raw materials. So it's really, again, the circular economy here. And from our perspective, to do all that, you need to have data and you need to have documentation and you need to have it in a digital form, which is the essence of this. Otherwise, it stays or it remains a physical process that can be very, very well managed. But any company needs to be able to access the data and to manage this data. And this is for sure now a question that has the answer kind of in it based on my last comment. But what should international companies do different in the future when it comes to recycling within ITAD?
This is not an easy question, and I know industrial investments required to precisely process and recover materials is extremely costly and demand significant expertise. Logistic also play a major role. Paprec benefits from strong logistic capabilities thanks to its extensive recycling activities across multiple waste stream sites, and providing ITAD services means mastering a complex value chain. It's the point. As the leading B2B D3E player in France, we must continue to innovate and evolve being just a recycler to becoming an IT asset auditor, a data eraser provider, serial number traceability operator, refurbisher, and supplier of equipment or material derived from the circular economy.
I mean, Adrian, this is really a strategic outlook that you do for a company like Paprec, which I strongly appreciate, and I clearly see that this is clearly the role that a company like Paprec needs to take. Also, on the fact that you really do the job. You're not talking about someone who does the extraction. You told me yesterday about a project, extraction of hard disk drive, scanning the serial numbers, putting them back, preparing this for the data wipe. You do this, and this complexity that you then provide to the market is provided to a customer who may have this requirement in multiple countries. At the worst, if you want to call it worst, in 27 EU member states, maybe in 30 states across Europe. And the client needs to have this in every state within different environments. Bulgaria is something different than Portugal, and Ireland is something different than Greece, and France is something different than Italy or Germany. But he needs to have the same pattern. And we at envenance, we have the task to provide all these different outcomes in a same pattern that we call myenvenance.com. And we really rely heavily on professional partners like Paprec in France. But I may say also on people like yourself, Adrien, because at the end of the day, it's a people's business. We can talk as much as we want about recycling and circular economy and about data and AI. At the end of the day, it's HI, it's human intelligence, and it's people business. We rely on partners like yourself, and the work and the outcome relies on the relation that I have with you and you with me, that we can rely on each other, that we know when the heat comes down, someone is taking action and not just pushing out the excuse to somebody else. And I really can say you are a person who does this, and Paprec is a company who actually puts this in place. So I'd like to thank you, Adrien, for this interview from this morning and your insights and your views on this. And I'm really looking forward to discussing this further with you, also along the projects that are in the pipeline that we will do together. And if you want to discuss ITAD 3.0 with Adrien and myself, we invite you to see both of us on the ITAD Europe conference, which takes place on the 15th and 16th of April, right here in Nice. You can book a slot in the comment below right now. Talk to you then. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.